Why Claris crashes Tourney? What is Claris? What is Tourney? Claris is a road group set. Shimano Tourney is a road, very entry-level budget even. Tourney, yeah, touring group set. Let's go from the highest. So there is Shimano Derailleur, Shimano Ultegra, Shimano 105, Shimano Tiagra, Shimano Sora, Shimano Claris on this bike, and Shimano Tourney. Why Claris, not Tourney? The answer is very, very easy. The Claris will have lots of technologies available on the highest group sets, and Shimano Tourney is the one that, in my opinion, shouldn't be produced anymore. It's outdated. The problem is that on this bike I don't have all Claris components, because the crankset is really important thing I wanted to show you. But anyway, if there was a Claris crankset on this bike as well, the crankset would have integrated spindle, which makes the crankset more precise and stiffer. Why is it important? Even on the entry level or budget road bike, because of square tapered system here, there is not so much precision in how this crankset is being assembled to the bike, so it won't be perfectly straight, never, which means that sometimes the chain will rub against the cage of the front derailleur. It is not nice. And also it is less stiff than the Claris with the integrated spindle, and when you push the pedals you twist it even more, which makes even more noise here. So this system, outdated, heavy, shouldn't be produced anymore. I don't think it's really much more, if at all, expensive to produce Claris than Tiagra crankset. So this is Tiagra, and unfortunately on this bike there is also Tiagra. So this was number one. Number two, rear derailleur of the Tourney is really bad. This is a bad one. It really doesn't help much with securing the chain. I mean, you can change the gears, it's okay. If the cables are clean, it's still okay. But this is bad. When you are going over some really small bumps, you can experience some chain going between the frame and the cassette. On the Claris, the rear derailleur is a little bit better. It's not as good as 105 or the higher group set, but it's a little bit better, and it will secure the chain a little bit better than the Tourney. So this is also important. And another thing is that Claris shifters will shift in the way as even Derailleur. You use the whole lever, you have the small lever, same for the front derailleur, small lever, whole lever, and here you have this big braking lever for the shifting as well, and the little button here, small lever right here. This is actually similar to Campagnolo system, but this is not as high quality. On Tourney though, you have the indicator of your gear that you're currently running, which is nice. And you have external cables. External cables, easier to maintain. I'm still a fan of external cables, but just note that the shifting cable is external. The braking cable goes from the shifter, from the braking lever, under the bar tape. On the Claris though, as on all the highest group sets, both housings are inside. So you don't see any housing right here, you see it there. And probably you wouldn't even notice it's there until I told you. So now you know. But yeah, Tourney, if you want to have the least expensive bike and you want to sometimes ride it, it's okay. But Claris will give you much more. And why Claris and not Tourney once again? Because I would not really want to upgrade to Sora, because Sora, comparing to Claris, basically will give you additional gear. So instead of 8 gears on Claris, you would have 9 gears on Sora, but all the other technologies will be the same. It won't be much lighter, if at all, and you can have still same number of teeth on the highest gear and the lowest gear, you will just have one less gear. It might be a little bit more complicated to find the right cadence, but for beginners up to mid-level doesn't matter that much. The stiffness of the crankset when you want to do some intervals matters. So just bear that in mind. And otherwise, interesting thing, we've got here the Scott Speedster 40, so the higher model, and the 50 and the lower model. And the 50 weighs 10.5 kilograms, and the 40, the higher model, is heavier, 10.7 kilograms. And I think it's because we've got different frame here. This one is double butted, that one is butted, so alloy, but this one is oversized, this is heavier, and this one has internal cables, so the cables are routed inside the frame. Here we have external cables, so probably lighter. And also, you see, this is the size of the down tube. This is the size of the down tube. So in this case, the cheaper bike on Tourney will be 200 grams lighter than the more expensive bike on the Claris. That might be also because we have 7 gears here and 8 gears there, but mainly I think that the frame would be heavier. Bit weird that the more expensive, higher, nicer looking frame is heavier than the least expensive, the cheapest model here. But anyway, Tourney versus Claris, I say Claris. You just put a little bit of more money for the Claris and you will be happy, I'm telling you that.